This is Pharma Forum web editor Nicole Raleigh, and I am live on site at ESMO 2024 in Barcelona. And today I have with me Daejin Abidoye, who is VP Therapeutic Area Head of Solid Tumour Oncology at AbbVie. Welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. I'm really excited to be here.
So AbbVie has presented new data across their solid tumour pipeline at ESMO 2024, displaying the company's potential as an emerging leader in solid tumours. Before we go into all of that, though, I was wondering if you could tell viewers, listeners, a little bit more about your own journey to doing what you do today at AbbVie and the passion that drove you along the way.
Absolutely. So, by way of background, I am a hematologist oncologist by training. And I've always had a passion for taking care of patients and really, digging into the science because I think ultimately it's the pursuit of science that's going to make the greatest trends and advancements in oncology. And so once I completed my fellowship training in oncology, I spent some time both in academia as well as in community practice before eventually getting into the pharmaceutical industry. And now probably a little over about a decade's worth of experience working on antibody drug conjugates, immunotherapy. That's led me to work at AbbVie.
Amazing. Digging into the science for the good of patients. I like that.
Yeah.
So can you comment on the solid tumour space now more generally, not just in terms of AbbVie, and how that sort of progressed in oncology?
Oh, wow. It's been
Good question.
It's been an explosion of science and innovation that AbbVie is really excited to be part of. When you think back to just a little over a decade and a half ago, the primary modality of treatment for a lot of patients was chemotherapy. And now within less than 10 to 15 years, we're seeing a revolution where we have not only new therapies for patients that include immunotherapy, where we're seeing increase in survival benefit for a lot of patients, but we're also seeing now more recently this advent of ADC technology, where ADCs are in a significant position to be able to replace traditional chemotherapy, providing better safety profile, better tolerability, but also improved efficacy over chemotherapy. So this is it's a great time to be in oncology. AbbVie is excited to be taking a leadership role here, and we're really excited with regards to our portfolio and what we have coming out in the future.
As you say, a revolution in science and
yeah.
Yeah. So turning to the new data presented at ESMO, can you share sort of bite-sized details, as it were, about the ELAHERE phase 2 trial?
Yes. So we presented some phase 2 data called it's referred to as the PICCOLO study. And this was on a patient population which is referred to as platinum-sensitive ovarian cancer, sometimes referred to as PSOC. I think there are a couple of things that people should be aware of, and I think it's critical to highlight, is that, first and foremost, the data was positive. But I think it builds upon the existing data that we know already with regards to ELAHERE. In the past, we presented data both from a single-arm study demonstrating benefit of ELAHERE in a platinum-resistant ovarian cancer population, both in a single-arm study that led to its accelerated approval, the SORAYA study, and then more recently with a randomized phase 3 study that's already led to full approval in the US, and we expect to have global approval shortly. But from the phase 3 MIRASOL study, we saw a survival benefit, which up until this point in time, while we've seen advancements in progression-free survival, we haven't really seen a lot of advancements with regards to overall survival benefit. And so to be able to see an overall survival benefit with a new therapy is pretty exciting. And I think we're seeing sort of the next step of that now, where we've moved from a platinum or a more advanced stage of ovarian cancer, which is platinum resistant, to platinum sensitive. And for the PICCOLO study, which was presented here at ESMO, there are a couple of things that people should be aware of. For this particular patient population, this is a patient population that receives multiple rounds of platinum-based chemotherapy. A lot of toxicities associated with that. In addition, with each subsequent round of platinum-based chemotherapy, the outcomes for patients, the efficacy diminishes. What the PICCOLO study was able to show is that with ELAHERE in this patient population, which is a heavily pretreated patient population with a lot of poor prognostic factors, that we saw really impressive response rates, well over 50%, with good durability of those response rates. And it further builds upon the belief that there is a place for ELAHERE in earlier lines of therapy. This is something that we're already actively investigating within AbbVie. We have a phase 3 study that's already ongoing called the Gloriosa study that's designed with the specific intent to evaluate ELAHERE in earlier lines of therapy, specifically looking at it in the maintenance setting for patients with platinum-sensitive ovarian cancer. So we're pretty excited about it. We're pretty excited to see patients that are currently receiving this therapy in the advanced stages, but being able to bring it earlier in therapy where we think we can actually continue to extend survival for these patients. That's what's got us excited.
Exciting indeed. Yeah, for valid reasons. So if we stick with ovarian cancer, broaden out slightly, something that's been spoken about more widely are women's cancers generally at the conference this year. Can you comment on that at all?
Well, we started off talking a little bit about the advancements in cancer as a whole. I think for ovarian cancer, it's been an explosion of therapy. Up until this time, therapy for patients has been defined not only by chemotherapy, but specifically by platinum-based chemotherapy, where patients either receive platinum and they're sensitive to platinum. At a point in time when they progress, they become platinum resistant and they go on to single-agent chemotherapy. Within the span of literally 2 to 3 years, that's been revolutionized by the advent of a lot of ADC technology. At AbbVie, we're really excited that we're at the forefront of that with ELAHERE, which is a first-in-class FR-alpha ADC. But we're seeing a lot of other antibody-drug conjugates step into this space with the potential of providing value to patients. Now, we're starting with ovarian cancer, but we expect that we'll start to see more advancements, not only when you talk about women's tumors, not only in the area of ovarian cancer, but also in endometrial cancer. We've seen some advancements already in cervical cancer. We expect that we'll continue to see more.
Sorry, I was thinking while you were talking there, so many different applications, different cancers. What about non-small cell lung cancer?
Oh, yeah. So non-small cell lung cancer. Non-small cell lung cancer has, up until now, has been an area where we've seen tremendous progress over the last 5 years. That said, it remains an area of high unmet need. Probably the largest advancement that we've seen thus far has been in the area of immunotherapy. That said, what we're seeing right now is that with the extension of immunotherapy into the frontline setting, which we think is a great value for patients who progress off of frontline therapy with chemotherapy and immunotherapy, there are not a lot of treatment options. It's still chemotherapy. And so that remains an area of high unmet need. What was really exciting for us at AbbVie is being able to step into this space with 2 ADC technology platforms and 2 ADCs that have demonstrated tremendous value for patients. One is telesovir, telesotobimab vedotin, which we presented data on at ASCO in the Luminosity study. This was a single-arm phase 2 study of a c-Met targeting antibody-drug conjugate with what's referred to as a vedotin payload. And in this particular study, we demonstrated impressive response rates of well over 28 to 30% based off of c-Met expression. More recently, and here at ESMO, we presented data on our second c-Met targeting ADC, which is ABBV-400, or telesotobimab deruxtecan, which is a c-Met targeting ADC, now not with a vedotin payload, but with our proprietary TOPO1 payload. And with this particular agent, what we saw is in patients who are heavily pretreated, who have progressed beyond the frontline therapy, we saw an impressive response rate of well over 48%. And when we now start to look at the c-Met expression and the biomarker selection of that, we see these response rates go up to about 78%, which is something you typically do not see in these later line treatment settings. And so we're really excited about both of these ADCs. Telesotobimab vedotin, sort of coming off of the presentation of the data in Luminosity. This is an agent which received breakthrough therapy designation from the FDA. We've announced publicly that we're really excited about the data, and we're talking to the FDA with regards to that, with the hope and the belief that this can become a available therapy for patients. And we're really excited about the data that we've just shared now with that follow-on, which we think is a second generation with great data.
Lots of data and great data, as you say. I mean, some of those percentages just amazing.
Certainly, something we've not seen, definitely with chemotherapy, but even with other therapies, we just haven't seen that.
So let's switch to another set of data now.
Sure.
Early data from another trial in gastroesophageal adenocarcinoma. Can you comment on that at all?
Yes. And I think what's really exciting, and I'm glad you mentioned that, is we were able to present data here on gastroesophageal adenocarcinoma with telosutumab adesotucan, or ABB 400. What's really exciting about this particular compound is that c-Met as a target has demonstrated overexpression not only in non-small cell lung cancer, but also in gastric cancer, colorectal cancer. And we're seeing this particular ADC having activity across these different tumor types. We shared at ESMO, we've shared data for lung cancer and gastroesophageal cancer, but even as early back as ASCO this year, we shared activity data for the same ADC with colorectal cancer. Now, more recently, with regards to gastroesophageal cancer, this is an area of high unmet need. Similar to non-small cell lung cancer, we've seen improvement in benefit and survival for patients in the early setting with the introduction of immunotherapy. But once patients progress off of chemotherapy and immunotherapy, moving into the second line setting, there are really not a lot of options. What we're able to demonstrate with telosutumab adesotucan is a really impressive response rate of a little over about 28%, with great durability, and a really heavily pretreated patient population for gastroesophageal cancer. So we're really excited about the broad applicability that we're seeing thus far with this ADC, both in non-small cell lung cancer, colorectal cancer, and now gastroesophageal cancer.
Broad indeed, yes, my word. Yeah. So if we go even broader now and bring it back to ESMO 2024 as a congress as a whole, how's it been? How's it been for AbbVie, first of all?
Oh, it's an amazing time. One of the things that we're really excited about from a historical perspective of AbbVie is the leadership that we've played, a leadership role that we've played with regards to making advancements in oncology. We've already demonstrated this in the hematology space with some of the really impressive therapeutics that we've brought into the hematology space, both in the area of lymphoma as well as leukemia. And now to be able to now shift this and bring this forward in the solid tumor space is really exciting for us. We had a really impressive presentation of data at ASCO, and now we're following this on with ESMO, where we're demonstrating, strong, compelling results, both with regards to our ADC portfolio as well as our immunotherapy portfolio. What it represents for us at ESMO is that we anticipate over the next several years that we'll have several therapeutic targets, both with our ADC platform as well as our immunotherapy platform, that we think will provide value to patients in the solid tumor space.
Great. So last question. Trends, takeaways, insights from ESMO, and I might posit that you can't say ADCs because that's come across really clearly with what AbbVie is doing. So
Sure. So just taking a step back, I think, these last, 5 years have been an area of tremendous growth for AbbVie in terms of solid tumors. I think it's reflective of our commitment to oncology and our desire to play a leadership role in this space. We've done that thus far with regards to where we are in our portfolio program, where we have telosutumab vedotin, which has demonstrated really impressive activity in non-small cell lung cancer, and now is making its way through filing with the FDA. We've also demonstrated this with ELAHERE, which has already gone through full approval and now is in line with a global filing. In addition to both ELAHERE and telosutumab vedotin, behind that we've presented a really broad pipeline that includes both antibody-drug conjugate technology. But in addition to that, we have a lot of diversity within our portfolio, not just in terms of antibody-drug conjugates, but also in terms of immunotherapy. where we presented data on one of our agents, which is an antibody that targets TGF-beta called limonimab, which we are really excited about as a unique way of targeting the tumor microenvironment from an immune perspective, but also looking at new technology platforms like in situ CAR-Ts, which we've shared information on already with regards to our collaboration with Anoja. In addition to that, we also have several other technologies that we're looking at in the immunotherapy space, such as trinkets, or looking at engaging natural killer cells or NK cell therapies, as well as bispecifics. So, taken together in terms of the commitment we have, the exciting data that we've seen thus far, the diversity of our portfolio, the depth of our portfolio, we're really excited.
Exciting indeed, and a revolution in science on the horizon. Thank you very much, Daejin.
Thank you, and thanks for having me. I really appreciate it. Thanks.
Thank you.